The throne room was vast, echoing with silence as if time itself held its breath. In the year that King Uzziah died, Isaiah felt the weight of uncertainty pressing on his shoulders. The air was thick, not just with the smell of incense and burnt offerings, but with the palpable tension of a nation on the brink of chaos. He had seen kings rise and fall, but this was different. This death felt like the end of an era, the start of something darker. Isaiah entered the temple seeking solace, but what he found was beyond anything he could have imagined. As he stepped forward, the scene transformed before his eyes. The walls of the temple seemed to expand, stretching infinitely upwards into a sky that wasn't there moments before. His heart raced. His breath quickened. Was this a dream? A vision? He felt his knees weaken, yet he was unable to tear his gaze away from the spectacle unfolding before him. There, seated upon a throne, high and exalted, was the Lord himself. A radiant figure of indescribable glory, his robes train filled the entire temple, cascading down in waves of pure light that shimmered like a river of molten gold. The brilliance was blinding, and Isaiah instinctively shielded his eyes. The very air seemed to tremble with power. Above the throne, Isaiah saw seraphim, fiery beings, six-winged and awe-inspiring. 2 wings covered their faces, 2 covered their feet, and with the remaining 2, they hovered. Their voices, when they spoke, were like the roaring of a mighty waterfall, crashing over the ears and shaking the very foundations of the temple. They called to one another, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory." Their voices boomed with such intensity that the doorpost shook and the entire temple filled with smoke. It wasn't just smoke, it was a thick, consuming presence that felt like it could smother Isaiah at any moment. He fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the sheer force of holiness that now surrounded him. He felt every flaw, every hidden sin, exposed in the piercing light of the divine presence. "Woe to me," Isaiah cried, his voice breaking under the weight of his own unworthiness. "I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." As he knelt there, expecting to be consumed by the divine fire, one of the seraphim flew towards him, swift and purposeful. In its hand, it held a live coal, taken with tongs from the altar. Isaiah's heart pounded as the seraphim approached. The heat from the coal could be felt even at a distance, a searing reminder of his own impurity. The seraphim extended the coal and touched it to Isaiah's lips. He winced, feeling the intense burn, yet there was no pain, only a deep, purifying warmth that coursed through him, cleansing him from the inside out. "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for," the seraphim declared, its voice resonating with a finality that left no room for doubt. Isaiah felt the weight lift off his soul, his unworthiness replaced with a strange, empowering peace. The smoke began to clear, and the Lord's voice thundered through the chamber, filling every corner of Isaiah's being. "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Isaiah, still trembling, but now filled with a newfound boldness, knew his answer even before he spoke. This was the call he was born for, the reason he had been drawn into this overwhelming vision. He stood, raising his hand in a gesture of both surrender and resolve. "Here am I, send me." As the words left his lips, the vision began to fade. The temple returned to its familiar, earthly state. The light receded, the seraphim were gone, and the throne stood empty once more. But Isaiah was forever changed. He had seen the Lord, and his life would never be the same. The fear that had gripped him was replaced with purpose. the uncertainty of his future overshadowed by the certainty of his calling. Isaiah walked out of the temple, his steps sure, his heart aflame with the divine mandate. The world outside still mourned a dead king, but Isaiah had seen the true king, high and lifted up, and he knew that he had been chosen to speak his words to a nation that desperately needed to hear them. The year that King Uzziah died would forever be marked, not by the end of a reign, but by the beginning of a prophet's call.